It's cold without the sun.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. As you can tell, I've got my bookshelf just here, and I thought it was fitting since I'm going to be doing all of the books that I read last year, 2021. I didn't read that many. I think the total's 18, just because of school and stuff. Like, I don't always have time and it's not my main priority, but I love reading, and so I thought I would share all of the books that I read last year, just in case you were interested. And you'll probably see a theme. I love young adult romance, or just romance in general, to be honest. Kind of embarrassing, but you know, kicking off the start of 2021, I started with The Second Chance Summer. Also, I don't have all of these books, by the way, so I will just like put an image here of the books that I don't have. But Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson, and this was a young adult. I got these from the library, these first couple books, for my summer, because I go away and then I always stock up on books from the library and then take them with me. The summer's like my only chance I get to read a lot. We started off the year well with The Second Chance Summer. It was one of two 5-star reads. I loved this book. I was like bawling my eyes out at the end. Like, I'm pretty sure I finished this on the 1st of January and I was literally like sobbing in my bed on holiday. I was literally just sitting in my room with my curtains still closed, and it was like light out, and I was just sobbing. It was so sad, but I loved it. I love books that make you feel things, and that's actually the only book I've ever cried at. It's saying something, but I don't know, it could have just been because, I don't know, I wasn't really having the best New Year's, so it probably was a mix of things. If you want to feel something and cry, this is the one for you. Basically, this girl goes, her family get this news about her dad, and so they decide to have one last summer at their like holiday house. I think they stay like the whole summer. There was a bit of drama the last time she went with her old best friend and ex-boyfriend, so when she goes back it's a bit awkward, and she's quite used to like running away from her problems. But she decides, because of the news from her family and stuff, that life's too short, so she decides to try rekindle those relationships, and it's really good. I highly recommend. Yeah, it's quite cute. It's not just a romance either. And then the second book that I also read on holiday was Love, Simon by Bicky Albertalli, also known as Simon vs. the Homo sapiens Agenda. I didn't love this book, but only because I know you're supposed to read the book first and I'd watch the movie first. So whenever I tend to do that, I never love it as much as I could, because I kind of know what's going to happen. Like, the plot's very similar most of the time. Although there's lots of different things that they leave out, I feel like you just can't enjoy it as much because you know what's coming. I gave this book 3 stars, and if you don't know what it's about, it's basically this boy is in high school struggling with his sexuality, and then there's this someone on Facebook who is anonymous and writes about his own problems. That kind of gives Simon the courage to voice his struggles as well, and so he goes behind a fake name, and then they start emailing back and forth, connecting with each other and getting to know each other. There's a bit of drama with this other boy who blackmails him because he wants a relationship with Simon's friend, and then he outs Simon anyway. It's just a very cute young adult romance, really. Very heartfelt. I do wish I read it before I watched the movie, but if you haven't watched the movie, I highly recommend, and even if you have watched the movie, it's still a good read. Third book into the year was November 9 by Colleen. Oh yeah, this is about a girl and a boy, Fallon and Ben. They suddenly meet just before Fallon is about to move across the country. Randomly bump into each other, spend the whole day together, but they don't even swap numbers or anything. They just say, make a pact to meet here next year on the exact same day. Ben is like an aspiring novelist, author, and so he decides to write a book about their relationship and how they meet, and Fallon doesn't really realise this until a bit later on, and so then they keep like meeting each other. November 9th every year they come back to the same place, or they organise a place to meet, and they meet every year on that day and don't talk in between, have like no contact in between. Like, there gets a bit of drama going on, and Fallon becomes a bit concerned because she doesn't feel like Ben's been telling her the truth. And then there's a really interesting plot twist that you wouldn't have expected. Basically just blows to shit, which really got me hooked. Fallon's also had trouble with her dad, and she's been in this awful fire, and so she has a lot of self-confidence issues. She's also aspiring to be an actress, and Ben kind of gives her the courage to do that. I gave this book 4-star rating. Very much enjoyed it. I wish we had more Colleen Hoover books in New Zealand that was recommended to me, well, not personally, but by Stiefvater. All of her YouTube videos are so entertaining. Okay, so the next book I read was actually something very different for me. It's called How to Be Yourself by Alan Hendrickson. In 2020, I was suffering really bad with anxiety. I heard about this book through actually another YouTuber, Renee Amberg on YouTube. She just did like books she read in 2020, but she was saying that she suffers a lot with social anxiety, and this book is aimed more towards social anxiety, but she said it would be really helpful for normal anxiety as well, just like your way of thinking. Really interesting actually. I feel like I should read that again, but it took me a while to read because it's not my typical light-hearted easy read. I actually wrote down a few things. Hang on a sec. Right, I found my notes. The first one was specify, replace. What's the worst thing that could happen? How bad would that really be? What are the odds? How could I cope? So that's kind of like when you're in the situation, you try to think of that. And then mindfulness, embrace. So five things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you touch, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. Listen to surroundings, concentrate on your breathing, so that's just trying to calm you down. Put it in perspective, basically. Self-compassion, give yourself a pep talk while acknowledging what you are feeling. The next one is practice makes perfect. You have to begin doing things when you are uncomfortable in order to feel comfortable. This just really stood out to me, I guess, because, well, I specifically am quite bad at like staying in my comfort zone. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to most things anyways, and so I feel anxious really easily. It's actually one of my New Year's resolutions is to say yes to things more often and just not think too much about it. I don't really like heights. I don't really like going fast on like boats or cars or anything like that. Don't like flying, so you know, I just want to take a bit more chances. So you have to begin doing things when you are uncomfortable in order to feel comfortable. And then the last one was structure. Present yourself confidently. Take on the role of do it for someone else. I hope that persuades you to read it because it was quite eye-opening, especially for someone who suffers with anxiety. So I recommend that. That was my also other 5-star one. Then we went into Sick Kids in Love, which was flipped around again. Once I read like a book that I wouldn't normally go for, I definitely like to come back to my roots. I actually can't remember what this was about. This was by Hannah Moskowitz. I must have also got this one from the library, I think. I gave this one a rating of 3. Basically just 2 teenage kids in love, both sick, and it didn't make me cry. But it could make you cry because I don't cry very often. It's your typical teen romance, like 5 Feet Apart vibes. If you've read that, Zack and Mia by AJ Betts and 5 Feet Apart. Very cute. The next one was Making a Play by Abby Gilms. I've read a lot of her series, Field Party series, and I'm sucker for them. High school, it's basically all I read. So there's this new girl, Aurora McClay, who moves to Lawton, is living with her dad and her twin brother. Her dad really didn't want her to go to normal school because she's deaf. Her brother's very overprotective of her, and she meets this boy, Riker Lee, who is known for being a bit of a player, getting around with lots of girls. He's trying to get a football scholarship, you know, very typical job role. Basically he meets Aurora and she changes his whole life. Well, what's the point? I'm not taking anything seriously. I'm hooking up with girls all the time. I'm so worried about football. He's just over it. Sees that how much she has to go through on a daily basis, that it kind of puts it into perspective for him. Everyone questions his intentions with Aurora, and there's also a bit of drama with Aurora's dad and Riker. Another cute young adult romance, and I gave that one a 2. I guess like going into those books, it's quite predictable. If you're looking for an easy read, then that one's the one for you. The next one I read was The Summer of Impossibilities by Rachel Allen. I did really like this one. Basically it's about these 4 girls whose mums were all best friends when they were like younger, and they all came to this beach town. They haven't like been together in a while. They're all very in different minds about going. One of them really wants to go, is looking forward to escaping her hometown, and some of them are not looking forward to it. Couldn't think of anything worse. And there's a bit of drama within their families and stuff like that. Summer, fun, holiday, family, friends kind of up. Next we have Shiva by Maggie Stiefvater. Sorry, I probably completely butchered her name. In their hometown, they're like renowned for having wolves in the woods. People just like suddenly disappear, and basically this boy disappears and no one can work out like what happened and stuff, and they become werewolves. So change and turn into werewolves. And to start with, it's very frequent, they're changing, but then slowly it like becomes longer periods of times they're a wolf, and then shorter amounts that they're human, and then they eventually just turn into wolves. But this one girl, it's really This really sounds like I'm not really into vampires and werewolves and shit like that. I just don't really like it, but I decided to try this out. Gave this one 3 stars. It was okay, wasn't my favorite. So this girl Grace watches the wolves all the time from behind her house. She lives right next to the woods. She feels this like particular connection with this one yellow-eyed wolf and can't work out why. But she remembers this like moment from when she was younger. The werewolves were about to bite her, but then this boy Sam, who's the yellow-eyed werewolf, saved her basically. They basically fall in love, and Frank just interrupted me, so this is taking a lot longer than I expected. I have a lot to talk about. She basically has to decide, like, they both have to decide what they're gonna do because he's about to turn into a werewolf and Grace is in love with him and they're never gonna be able to talk again, so werewolf, really not up my alley, but you know, you gotta try something new. And the next I read was The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and people are gonna come at me, but I only gave it a 3 stars. I'm very picky, okay? I don't know, I just didn't love this book, and I'm sure you already know the summary, but I'll just give you a quick one. Forced proximity, enemies to lovers, workplace romance trope. I just read The Spanish Love Deception, so now I'm getting confused between the books, and they're both offending for the same job, for the same promotion. They have all these unspoken games between each other. Lucy is just determined to win everything, and Joshua is as well. Have this unspoken pact that if the other one wins, then the other one will resign because they just can't be to like work with each other, and that's just how it works because they think that's fair. There's obviously quite a bit of sexual tension, so that builds up, and they just realise that they don't really hate each other at all. Basically that book, and I didn't really love it. I know. Book I read after that was The Girl Who Used to Know by Tracy Garvez Graves. This is not what I expected this book to be. This girl and boy met in university, and the girl has autism. She's on the autism spectrum. She's just never felt comfortable around anyone else. She can never find friends. It's really awful. She meets this guy, they like click, and he just finds all of her personality quirky and just loves everything about her basically. She's so different from everyone else, enticed by that. They end up breaking it off and don't speak for 10 years, and then they come back together and slowly start to rekindle their relationship. Something bad happens at the end, which I'm not going to tell you, but I really recommend because of that plot twisting ending that I didn't think was going to happen. Read it. Feels the happiest by herself, but then she meets him and she feels happiest with him. I gave that a 4 stars, by the way. And then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. Lovely. I love the TV show, and once again, I watched that before I read the book, which I'm really annoyed at myself for because I think I would have enjoyed the book so much more. I only gave the book 3 stars, but also because I don't really think I like Sally Rooney's writing style that much. I don't know. It's very different from anything else I've read. Sometimes I find it a bit floaty, or like jumps between things often, and like there's not much punctuation and stuff like that, so I don't know, I just found it a bit difficult to get my head around. Marianne, Connell and Ireland, they have like an on-again, off-again relationship, and it's kind of awful in the beginning because Connell is embarrassed of Marianne and his reputation at high school and stuff, and then they move away and go to college and they somehow keep coming back together. I feel like it's a very realistic relationship compared to like the rest of the books that I've recommended. Raw, punch in the face kind of thing. Highly suggest because it is great and I love the TV show. That's all I'm going to say about that because I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. My first book on the shelf, I read Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I remember everyone used to read this book in primary school, and I finally got round to reading it, and it was really cute. I did find it a little bit long, so for that reason I also gave it a 3. I'm just harsh, okay? This girl who comes from a really rough background, and she lives with her mum, stepdad, and 3 younger siblings. I think only one of them is her full sibling. Anyway, her family's just very like disjointed, and she hates her stepdad, and her stepdad is so mean and like constantly basically bullying her about her weight and how she looks. It's a very emotionally abusive family dynamic. She meets this boy to start with. He's like disgusted by her.
Can I just say that I think that's a bit of a red flag right there. Eleanor, watch out for Park.
And he just thinks to himself, why would you do this to yourself? She doesn't make herself like not want to be seen. She very much still tries to stand out, wears adventurous clothing, and so he's like, that's why people are making fun of you. Slowly they realise they have a few things in common, like he's reading a comic book on a bus and then she reads it over his shoulder, and then he sees that, and then he ends up like giving her all these comic books and stuff, and it's really cute. And then it slowly develops into a relationship, and then they love each other. Highly recommend that. Then I read They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I had very high expectations for this book, and I think that was kind of where I went wrong. Gave it a 4 stars, so it's still up there. There was just like a lot of hype surrounding it, so I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. It was very slow start, how the two boys like found each other through the app and then decided to live their last days together. One was really nervous and then the other one was like, oh well, this is what it is, so gotta make the most of it, and that's basically what they did. Recommend if you want to read it. Then I read I Am Number 4 by Edicus. Not quite sure how you say that. And that would not be my favorite book. I gave it a 3, so not terrible, but the young adult like sci-fi, he's an alien but looks like a human, gets his powers, and mission is to beat these other aliens because they're trying to take over the planet. They already took over his planet, just not for me. It's also like a side romance with like a girl at his high school, and it was okay. Then I read Someone to Love by Melissa Dela Cruz, and this book was really sad about this girl who has been hiding from all of her friends and family and stuff. Her eating disorder, she has bulimia. It's gotten to a point where it's so out of control. She just can't not be thinking about it 24/7. Like, her grades have gone downhill. She wants to go to this art school and like try and get a scholarship for it. She just can't even focus on that because all she can focus on is how she looks. She also is trying to balance friendship. Oh, they wrote that in. Look how pretty the cover is. I love the cover and this side bit. Sorry, I forgot to just show you that, but yeah, really cute. Back to Someone to Love. It's just basically about self-love and normal battles teenage girls have. I gave that one a 3.5 star. Another book I read last year was The Arrangement by Robin Harding. And I did mention this in one of my Vlogmas videos. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Also gave it a 3 star. It did have a good plot twist. The sugar daddy baby lifestyle, and very interesting. If you're looking for a bit of thriller action, suspense, recommend that. There's some drama with families and gets a bit out of hand at some point. They're just a girl struggling to afford her lifestyle and she thinks it's all gonna go fine, but then it basically turns to shit. I recommend it. It's very different from what I normally read. Now, the second to last book that I read of the year was The Singles Game by Lauren Weisberger. This is by the author that wrote The Devil Wears Prada. It's a fat book as well, and like tall. And I feel like it didn't need to be that big. I gave this one a 3 stars as well. It's about this girl who in the tennis world and decides that she needs to change her coach because she wants to go completely pro and win the Grand Slam. Thinks she isn't going to be able to do that with her current coach. So she hires this big shot guy who's never coached a girl before. He takes her over. He's incredibly harsh. It ends up being not just around tennis, it's her image and her behaviour and everything like that. He's very controlling. And then there's also like some romance involved. There's just a lot going on in this book. It was entertaining. Again, not one of my favourites. The last book I read, which I actually got on Christmas, was The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Wolfer. Excuse me. I also had high expectations for this because I normally love like a summer romance, going to an island, and I did really enjoy it. I don't know, I just felt like there was something missing for me. This is about this girl, Meredith, decides to go with her family back to their family holiday meet-up place after not going the year before because her sister passed away. They're all a bit hesitant but realise it's the thing that they need to do. Her and her whole family coming together in celebration of her sister's life. They come back for her cousin's wedding. One of the wedding events is that they have to play this game Assassin, which is their family game that they always play every year in memory of her sister Claire because she was always the winner. Meredith takes on the role of her sister and wants to win it for her. And there's also this boy who, a guest of her cousin's fiance. There's a bit of romance and alliances and a game of like finding yourself again after going through such grief. And I gave that one 4 stars. So yeah, that is all the books I read in 2021. I really hope you enjoyed. I'm hoping to read a lot more this year. Thank you so much for watching. Just let me know if there's any other book related videos you want me to do. Read anything specific. I'd love some suggestions. Happy New Year. Hope you have a great year. Love you all. Alright, see you guys.